recently reported that schools across the UK are in crisis as the effects of online influencer Andrew Tate's vile misogyny infiltrates our classrooms and society. Teachers are now having to develop their own resources to re-educate boys who are being brainwashed online by his deeply toxic messaging. The Prime Minister has been too slow to recognise this damage this is causing. What has he done? What is his government doing to tackle this misogyny, this incel culture, and the radicalisation of young men in this country? And will he commit to giving teachers the resources that they need to address this problem head on?
Oh yeah, re-educate our children. That's what the teachers are all for. Teachers warn that misogynistic Andrew Tate has radicalized school-age boys. Now let's just ignore the fact that these leftist teachers completely botch the fact that they're teaching our kids shit like this.
But kids can be boys or
they can be boys or girls. Yeah.
Or maybe non-binary.
Maybe non-binary.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just like me.
Just
so
like
Nash,
her
just
or
like
him.
me, is non-binary. So they
She pauses.
aren't sure if they're a boy or a girl.
She's not
It's
sure
just
of
like-
anything.
Non-binary, yeah. That's just something that we know.
These
This
are
is
the
something-
people
I mean,
that are
it's
teaching
like-
your children.
They're 4 and 5 years old, and they just didn't make a big deal out of being a boy or a girl.
And I think it was a huge testament to how much we've been talking about it in the classroom that you never mentioned the term non-binary. It
Never
was
mentioned it. Yeah, you
a
just brought it
child
up
who
multiple
brought that
times.
up
Yeah,
because it's constantly in conversation.
you never mentioned it, but it's always in our conversation over there at school. What a bunch of fucking freaks. Like I said, these are the people that are fucking teaching our children, and these are the same people that say shit like this that Andrew Tate teaches.
You have to build yourself as a man, and if you decide not to build yourself, then your life's gonna suck.
Misogyny. The most unprofessional political podcast on the fucking internet, Project VO Pod. I'm your host, Jake Varr, and today we're going to be diving into the teachers versus Andrew Tate. You're not going to want to miss it. Please like, subscribe, comment down below all your thoughts, and we're going to dive right into it. Yeah, so you might be sitting there and asking yourself, the re-education of young boys. Re-education is literally the brainwashing of our youth. And just check this out right here. How teachers are re-educating boys brainwashed by Andrew Tate. This is a real thing. As the influencer awaits his fate in Romania, his mark on legions of teenage boys remains. Schools are now confronting his anti-woman manifesto with bespoke lessons. Yeah, I'm not even playing around. A school in Oxford, okay? Andrew Tate props Oxford teachers to run misogyny classes. I'm not making this up at all. Misogyny classes based on Andrew Tate. Check this out. This is what it says. Pupils would be told in assemblies that schools why phrases like man up and be a man should be avoided, all in the name of what? Toxic masculinity. And the truth is the feminization and the weakening of young men was around before Andrew Tate and will be after, okay? You can lock him up and throw away the key. It's still going to be a problem and it's still going to be around, okay? All in the name of what? Toxic masculinity. They're going to tell these kids to be ashamed of their natural biological reality while simultaneously they wonder why these kids relate more and more to men like Andrew Tate. And the reason for that is because Andrew Tate says water is wet. He says the sky is blue. He says up is up and down is down and right is right and left is left. He says the reality of things. Take a look.
The dangerous thing about overly emotional men is that they're dangerous. They're genuinely dangerous. This is what's crazy. All these people who talk about toxic masculinity and how bad it is for men to be traditionally masculine. A traditionally masculine man does things he doesn't feel like doing because it is his duty to do them. He charges into the building because it is his duty. Not because he feels like it, because it is his duty. We're now teaching the new generation of men that they don't have duty and they can just act on their feelings and act how they feel and they don't have to act as a man should. Do you know what happens when you get men who just act how they feel? You get school shooters, you get violence, you get rapists. Men who do not control their emotions are dangerous. If you find a man who is stoic, he's not going to hurt people. He's going to sit and think about his actions very carefully, and he's going to be a good man who protects and provides for his family. You find a man who just acts out on impulse and does whatever he feels like, you're going to find a dangerous man. Sitting here telling men to cry more and act with their feelings and it's okay to feel this way, that way, etc., and have no self-control. That is why we have the problems we have in the world. You need to be teaching young men to understand that the world is very, very difficult. It's hard to be a man. You're going to feel bad sometimes. You need to suck it up and perform anyway. Not just sit there and cry your eyes out or blame other people. I say that life as a man is exceptionally difficult. I say the most beautiful and the most terrifying thing about being a man is you're born without value. Society doesn't care about you. You're only going to be cared about based on how useful you are. You have the chance to build yourself up and become a superhero if you're prepared to do the hard work and be indefatigable enough to never quit. But if you're going to stand around and wait for a handout, nobody's going to ever respect you. And it's your duty as a man to stand up and say, I want to be as important and strong and good-hearted and God-fearing as possible, and I need to work hard to achieve those things.
So let's be 100% honest of what Andrew Tate is saying there, okay? You as a man, if you're fat, you live at home, you don't have a job, you're not going to attract women. You need to be happy with yourself in order to grow as a man. Women, on the other hand, they can be losers and still attract plenty of good men, okay? We are not the same. If a woman's fat, they got the fat movement, okay? If her tits are too small, they got breast implants. If her ass ain't big enough, she's got a BLM, okay? If she's ugly, you got makeup. Okay, women have all these safety nets to make up for their flaws. Us as men, all you need to do is succeed, okay? These teachers, on the other hand, you give them a little bit of truth. Well, everybody loses their fucking minds, all right?
So I'm a teacher and I teach 6th grade. We've been in school for 3 days now, and within these 3 days, the amount of young 11-year-old boys that have told me that they love Andrew Tate is ridiculous. This man is really affecting the minds of young men. I had a boy today, 11, turn to a girl and tell her that she's fat. Women need to be thin. She sits at home and she eats all day, and that she's like every other girl in the world.
Like she's every other girl. Maybe she's a little chunky, okay? Maybe she does need to lose weight. These kids need to be active, all right? You give women, even the teacher, you give her a little bit of truth. That teacher looked fat as hell too, all right? I tell her you need to hit the gym, girl. So if you're sitting there thinking that Andrew Tate is a big component of this made-up term called toxic masculinity, newsflash, Andrew Tate is just a byproduct of our culture vilifying masculinity, okay? The re-education of these young boys, they want them to all be programmed to hate themselves. They program women to hate men, okay? They pin them against each other, black versus white, women versus men, gays versus straight. They want you in the mindset of people like this.
What are women good for?
Everything.
Everything. What's a women good for?
Literally everything.
What are women good for?
They're good for everything.
What are men good for?
Nothing.
What's a men good for?
What are men good for? Oh, not a lot, I don't think.
What's a men good for?
Oh, God, I have literally no...
What are men good for? Do you think men are important in society?
Yeah, so that's how they want you to end up. So I don't want to hear that crap that Andrew Tate is responsible for radicalizing a whole generation of young men, okay? It's not Andrew Tate that triggered this whole masculinity crisis that we're having today here in America. It wasn't Andrew Tate who removed all the healthy masculine role models that we used to have when we were kids. It wasn't Andrew Tate who taught boys how to be broke, how to be apologetic, how to be spineless, and how to be hopeless, okay? And it wasn't Andrew Tate's fault that self-deletion is the third leading cause of death for 15 to 24-year-olds here in America, the highest amongst men of all colors. So who the hell should these feminists be blaming? That's an easy question to answer. Feminists should be blaming feminists. They should be blaming our politicians. They should be blaming the leaders of this nation and blaming the people for allowing this to happen. With two simple words: fatherless households. So what's the percentage of single moms here in America? Almost a quarter of US children under the age of 18 live with one parent. That's 23%. More than 3 times the world average at 7%. In comparison, 3% of children in China, 4% of children in Nigeria, and 5% of children in India live with single-parent households. That is a stat that's embarrassing. That is a stat that we shouldn't be proud of, okay? Almost a quarter of children being raised in single-parent households. where the father is stripped from the household. This is why we have a lot of degeneracy nowadays. This is why 65% of prison is taken up by men that come from fatherless households. Look at the teen pregnancy. The vast majority of teen pregnancy comes from families that are raised with single moms. A father's job is to strike fear into his kids to make sure that they are disciplined. That is the point of the father. You take that away, we get weak men and sad girls. And I'll even tell you a story. When I was like in elementary school, I remember I made a little girl cry. I forgot how. I think I was probably playing too rough with her, or maybe I called her fat. I have no idea. But I remember the principal called my dad. And I remember thinking, I'm fucking scared because I know when I get home and get my ass beat. And I remember my father picked me up and I was in his truck and I was crying and everything like that. And he asked me this question. He said, whose job is it to discipline you? The school or my job? And he made me answer the question. And with tears in my eyes, I said, Bop, it's your job. And he said, you're damn right, it's my job. Because if I don't discipline you now, the law will later. It's as simple as that. A father's job is to keep his sons out of prison and his daughters off of stripper poles. Or I guess nowadays, OnlyFans. And I think men nowadays lack that father figure. They lack that father figure, and this is why Andrew Tate is so appealing to young men, because now all of a sudden they have a guy on the internet telling them to go step up, go be a man, go make money, go be the best version of yourself, and they're eating it up like they've never heard this shit in their fucking lives. It's insane. And then you guys wonder why Andrew Tate is so popular with young boys. This is the message that is getting to young men, and they're actually fighting against what I guess Tate fans call the Matrix, and messages like this.
Every single thing that exists out there inside of the Matrix is done so with a purpose.
You've heard of hate speech. Well, Tate speech is spreading a toxic cloud through schools.
Every class you learn in school, all of them are curated to keep your mind inside of a box. Because by keeping you inside of a box, they can keep you broke. And when they keep you broke, you must adhere to society's rules and laws, even if you know they're unfair, so you have enough money to eat. This is how they control you.
So now Andrew Tate being a byproduct and being a role model for young kids is no surprise. And not only that, nowadays with even fictional characters, we have Batman and Superman who used to be the pinnacle superheroes of when I was growing up, and are now like Superman's not even about truth, justice in the American way anymore. You know, Batman's more of like an emo kid that dresses like a bat these days. You know, these role models just don't exist anymore, not even in television. You know, nowadays we have Fat Thor.
You all right? Yes, I'm fine. Why? Don't it look all right?
You look like melted ice cream.
Yeah, that's right. They literally turned the God of Thunder into an overweight drunk who plays video games with his friends. That is what they're trying to turn our young boys into. Okay? And I'm going to end it with this. When you kill all the heroes in society, the anti-heroes will rise. Andrew Tate is not the hero that we deserve. Definitely not so. But at this point in time, he's an anti-hero that we need in order to amplify masculinity in our society again. He's not perfect by any means. I think I can disagree with him on a lot of things. But at this point in time, okay, there's a reason why they're attacking Andrew Tate so much. I'll leave it at that. Like, subscribe, comment down below your thoughts. Tell me what you think. This is Project VO Pod. Peace.